Grab a seat at the bar to join us for another episode of McAnally's Pubcast, a podcast exploring the fun and fantastical mind of Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files series. Hosts Tanzan, Jess, and Maggie bring you another round of literary analysis on this immense, immersive, and colorful environment inhabited by Harry Dresden, the world's only licensed private investigator and professional wizard. Join an active and engaged community of new and die-hard dedicated fans focused on the fabulous themes, theories, characters, context, lore, and more. This is McAnally's Dresden Files Pubcast by Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.
Welcome to the McAnally's Pubcast, brought to you by Free Flow Rambling. This is episode 9.7, Loved, Lost, and Returned, where we are covering the novel Summer Night. My name is Tanzan, and I'm joined by Maggie.
Hello, hello.
And Jess.
Kilo.
Thank you so much to our Patreon subscribers for your generous support. It's people like you who help us keep doing what we're doing. If you're not yet a Patreon subscriber, sign up today and get a fuck ton of bonus content, kick-ass merch, behind-the-scenes outtakes, and more. Sign up today at patreon.com/freeflowrambling.
Chapter 8. Dresden reconnects with Elaine. The two discover that they are both the emissaries of the Faerie Courts and pitted against each other. Dresden tries to convince Elaine to go with him to the White Council, but they are interrupted by a visit from the Warden Morgan.
Boo. You don't need to go to the White Council. They're going to come to us.
Super easy, Elaine. It's COVID. They have delivery now. So we ended off with a hello, Elaine.
Whoa.
Conveniently, or inconveniently now as the case may be, I just finished telling Murphy that I killed you like 10 years ago. What the fuck?
I've never told anyone about this before, and then write in the book when it matters.
Right. Finally open up to somebody. No, stupid woman, you have to prove me wrong. So she's just kind of wandering around his apartment while he stands there with his jaw on the ground.
Right. I have a little bit of a picky moment with her walking around. She inspects the fridge. But is it not said that it's an icebox?
Yes.
I'm being picky here, but there is a difference between a fridge and an icebox. Because one has got electricity and the other one really doesn't. It's stocked with ice.
I agree, and it could be... I am willing to give it the benefit of the doubt in just the... optional verbiage kind of a thing. I mean, it's what he uses as a fridge. It just happens to be powered by an actual block of ice. And maybe he's just kind of counting on that we've been with him by book 4. He explained in the first couple that it's actually runs off of, so...
Or maybe it is a real fridge that was already in place for the tenant that lived down there and could use a fridge. He just has to power it like an icebox.
Yeah.
A real fridge would work like an icebox. It's got all the insulation as a normal icebox.
Shoved a block of ice in there to keep... Yeah, I'm not quite sure that... So, it's a fair point. It's not something I ever kind of...
I know I'm being super picky on that one, but I was like,
but it
fridge?
Is.
What? He doesn't have a fridge? He doesn't know what a fridge is?
Well, it is. And even that, somebody was commenting on the Discord, hey guys, about the how we've said, he doesn't keep any mirrors. And it's no, but he has, his little shaving mirror. And then I'm that's one of those things that kind of goes in a lot. At points, he
has a mirror when he needs a mirror, and he doesn't have a mirror when he doesn't need a mirror.
Exactly. God. Yeah, it's pretty much one of those convenient that, sometimes he makes a big deal about not having it, and other times he does have his little shaving mirror that pops up.
I've got it envisioned as one of those prison mirrors where it's not actually a mirror, but it's shiny metal that you can see a reflection in.
I think the reflection is the part he's trying to avoid, though.
That's the... Yeah. Again, I don't know. The most he's referred to as a shaving mirror. So, I do picture just one of those little kind of anti-fog ones that maybe they're not even fully glass. I don't know. Right. But regardless, and somebody did raise... I've kind of wondered about that the odd time, too, right? And you're well, things can get in. Somebody, I think, were well, maybe it's too small. And I'm that could be a factor. I mean, there is a possibility.
It's like one single figure, like, I'm going to get
well,
you.
I was going to say, you know, maybe it does bear...
this eyeball.
Yeah.
Hey,
Right.
hey, what you doing?
yeah, exactly. Right. Like Albus.
I was about to say, I was like the broken mirror in Harry Potter.
mirror that
I swear I saw someone looking back. Your eyes, you mean? No.
Yes,
They were blue eyes. I don't have blue eyes. I've got my mother's eyes. How many times do I have to tell you people that?
Right. Hello, Ron. Have you read a single one of our books yet? But yeah, part of me is like, well, portal's a portal's a portal. I'm sure something big and scary could squeeze out of a little one. But regardless, you know, you're like, yeah, is it enough if he just like keeps it covered in a drawer somewhere?
I was gonna say,
Or
if it's like,
used,
like if it's like,
how
like you know,
does it-
like a closey, like, you know,
Like a compact?
a compact, you know, like maybe
yeah.
because
That's
it
even
closes.
funnier. I think he has a compact for sure.
Like, I don't know, like, because I know, like, in other content,
I can't get a girl, but I have a compact.
in other content, like, people have mirrors in their homes, but they keep blankets over it, and that's enough. Just to,
Yeah, and
right?
that's what I wonder. Sometimes that's
yeah.
never been specifically addressed in the Dresden verse,
Yeah.
and yeah, exactly right. I'm like, is it turning it around enough? Is it covering it up enough? Is like exactly right. Like, what is the deal with these mirrors? Because you make them sound pretty important, but you never
to
explain
be
how you deal with
fair,
them.
though, like, once we get to changes, we can have a whole new argument about it, okay?
We can't. And why doesn't anything ever jump out of the beetle or whatever? You know, I'm like, is it because it's like a mobile object too much? Like you can't get a pinpoint because it might be moving around, but like you've got like
Yeah, the rear view
two
mirrors
side
and
mirrors
things
and a
like that,
rear view
yeah.
mirror.
Maybe
on
he's
the
just already
beetle.
ripped them out, and that's why his
No, 'cause that's
beetle
the-
is so beat
That's
to
how he
shit.
saw himself.
I was gonna say that's the only time he ever
Right,
sees
right, he
himself
did
is when he
too.
gets in the car and
Oh, yeah,
notices
he looked
how
like
like
crap.
shit he looks in like several books. I'm pretty sure that's
You
the
got a
only
point, yeah.
Maybe, because when you try to pinpoint on the beetle, it's like you're supposed to be looking up like a Toyota mirror, and they're looking for a beetle mirror, and they're like,
It's a moving target. You know, you actually have to have it like GPS located in
Yeah.
your mind, and then it's moving. So
Well, even that, but
like the mirrors are all
the-
like Frankenstein too.
Well,
like it doesn't have
no,
his
like,
original beetle parts.
that's my point, though, is that no one can conjure an accurate picture of the beetle in their mind to like jump into, because it's like, fuck, does he even have a blue door anymore? Is now like a green door?
Right, I was gonna say.
Like,
So he
no one
says,
has an accurate image of it.
right? He comments that like beards and things aren't good. Like he still rinses all his shavings out, but he's like, usually they're not as good because you know your beard grows so much. If people shave their beards every day, it's not like having long hair that they can do a tracking spell on you.
Yeah.
It's like maybe like the beetle is like that. It's like it just changes so frequently that no one can get like a zap on that thing.
His
It's like,
oh my gosh, his car is like Thesis, like the ship of Thesis. It's like the theory basically goes, it's like if your grandfather passes his axe down through the generations and through the generations through the generations, and you replace the handle, and it goes through the generations and through the generations, and you replace the blade. It's like, is it still your grandfather's axe?
Right.
Oh, right.
If you rebuild Blackbeard's ship over and over and over again, eventually you've replaced every mast and every nail and every wood
Every
plank.
single
Is it
part.
still Blackbeard's ship?
Yeah.
Is it still really the Blue Beetle when eventually it's just like it's never even got any of the original parts?
yeah, it's like what part is still
right? Like,
I like this. Yeah.
It's like we should start documenting from like, okay, what did he say was replaced in the first book? And we'll document like everything that's been replaced that he mentions in the books, you know, because like, yeah. Cause
well, you know what? We have on our website.
we can be
a
like, by changes, it was no longer.
We have on our website like the most accurate account of what happened to the Blue Beetle, because one of our guests, Michael,
built the
Blue Beetle to almost exact specification. He
Specifications,
just
yeah.
kept like one of the changes for aesthetic reasons, but otherwise he followed the books exactly to how it had been up until it's.
So he's already done most of the research. Perfect. So
He's
we'll
got
just
all of the injuries and all of the changes it's ever accumulated already listed on our.
up to, and was that
So
up
crazy
to
how
was
like much detail he put into
was that up to
Yeah.
changes? I don't remember when he built the beetle.
It's up. It's like up for the entire books, except for like when he just wanted to keep one of the injuries for aesthetic purposes. That Harry
But
said.
yes.
Harry was like, "I fixed this." And
Okay,
Michael was
yeah,
like,
just
"I'm not
making
fixing
sure
that."
he didn't like, you know, make it in like book 7 and then there's still change. So okay, that is the. Well, there you go. Yeah, we can just go through his list of and see.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys got to check out that website post we have on it. It is truly something amazing.
It is really cool, and the pictures of the beetle are super impressive.
Yeah, back to the book.
Elaine trashing.
Yes.
Whenever she appears in the books, I will talk shit about her.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's
well,
my-
but the only thing not in his living room is his medicine cabinet. So she couldn't go through that. She had to go through the fridge instead.
take 3 Prozac a day, Harry.
He should be so lucky.
I think that Jim Butcher really missed an opportunity here when he made Elaine yet another sexy, competent, femme fatale, whatever. Because pretty much all the women are sexy, confident, femme fatale strong, all in their own element, blah, 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 can handle themselves.
Harry can't help it if that's just the type of women he attracts to himself.
I'm just saying, like, this could have been, like, the one and only opportunity for him to be, like,
Just plain
it's a kid from
Jane.
your childhood. Here's, like, a geeky, dumb girl that's just, like, whatever, blah, 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 like...
Yeah.
A little bit of variety in there.
Well, you could have done a little bit, like, yeah, exactly, a little bit more variety. Keisha, she's not important to the series. Spoiler, she never does anything useful that another character could have done. So it's like, she's not fae, she's not, like... vampire. She's not like got any supernatural other than
reason
being a
to
wizard,
have-
but she doesn't need to be like, you know, like the most beautiful whatever reasons.
Yeah.
Murphy obviously, like, she's like a constant. She's there every day, so she needs to be strong and like up to the count or whatever like that,
Yeah.
right?
She's got to be able to stick it out with Harry.
Right, but like Elaine, she just pops up every now and again when it's convenient to the book. She didn't have to be quite as
She doesn't have to be the
alluring
whole
as
package.
everyone else also is. He could have totally made her just a
Yeah.
little bit.
You know, like most of us look back at our first loves and be like, wow, you weren't nearly as cool as I thought you were then.
Yeah, exactly.
Or, wow, you haven't changed since we were 16. Or
Even as we go through the book, he could have been a little bit more just like disenchanted
With- yeah.
right, but like even still by the end of it, you know, he's very much just like, oh, Elaine, you know, like right, but it's like, I don't know, it just seems like a bit of a missed opportunity, especially since knowing in future books she doesn't need to be anything for him anyway, so it's like, why did you even bother to make her so cool and awesome and badass anyways, when every other woman in the book is also just cool and badass and whatever anyways, you know, like, just saying, just
don't
could have been
know.
an opportunity for some variety.
See, I was going to say if it was like me or something, like I know that's why I would never be a really good author, at least not right off the jump or anything, because I'd be like, I want all my characters to be, like you were talking about, like D&D and the one when Jessica played with her friends and they had one guy that just wanted to be awesome at everything, and she's like, you can't start at level 1 and be awesome at everything, like your character can only do so much, and you can't have a paladin that can also be a cleric, that can also be a rogue, that can also be a you know what I mean? It's like, if you're going to be a cleric, you have to be within, so you might be able to get one special power, you know what I mean? But I would be like that, right? I was like, you know, when I would make up stories when I was a little kid and my playing and everything was always the best. But I'm like, but then again, Butcher goes around and like slaughters everybody willy-nilly, or like, you know, makes a good guy a bad guy or a bad guy, you know? So I'm like, I don't know if that's really his problem. He'd be like, maybe he just wants all these super cool people in his world. But I'm like, but he's a much better author than I am and has no problem.
I can see
doing
what
horrible
you say though about, because it does make the women a little bit two-dimensional in a way, because it's form-fitted.
It's just like, it's just like everyone is a supernatural baddie. I mean, like, Susan and Murphy are kind of the only, like, non-supernatural woman in the books, and then Susan quickly becomes supernatural anyways, right?
Yeah, and
then
Murphy's
you kind
just super competent.
and Murphy's just super competent, right? And then Elaine is kind of the only other... I mean, we've got Charity, but
Vanilla
she just, you know,
mortal.
jumps in every now. She's also not reoccurring, which, again, Elaine's not reoccurring either. Or, I mean, sorry. They are reoccurring, but they're not main cast.
Yeah, occasional guest characters, not recurring
you know,
characters.
exactly.
I don't know. Maybe it's overcompensating. Maybe this is Butcher's version of women are awesome. I'm gonna make all. You know, maybe he doesn't want to make like, you know, like back burners. Women are strong and can
I
do
don't know.
anything a man can do.
I
and
just
they're
feel
all-
like
maybe
we
just
again we
tried to
haven't
build
met
them all up
we
too much
haven't
better.
met Butters yet, but like if you know who Butters is, and you know who Sonya is, and you know who Shiro is, you know who Michael is, and you know who Billy is, like all the men have like their shortcomings but are still awesome, but all his women just have like no shortcomings, or their shortcomings is just like stubborn.
But again, like
you
I
know?
say, maybe it's like that overcompetent.
Well, that's what I'm
he's
saying,
a
is that-
man.
I'm just saying,
can
it's a mistake.
He can diss on men, but it's like maybe he does. You know, either unconsciously didn't realize he was doing it. Trying
yeah,
to be.
I'm not
or, No, I
upset
know.
with the way that Susan is presented,
Yeah.
or the way that Murphy is presented, or the way that as we meet all the evil females and whatever. Or
I know. I'm just trying to think.
yeah,
of what it
I know.
would
I'm just
be,
saying.
but
I'm just
yeah.
like, Elaine could have been the opportunity where you didn't need to have
Yes.
such, not even like not competent, because I understand the whole like, you know, Bob is like, oh, you guys were always toe to toe and equals and blah blah blah. Like you still could have
Yeah,
had that.
they grew
but
up
you were
with the
children
same-
at the time. You know, you were 16. There could have been a difference. There could have been a lapse. She's been, well, as we read in this chapter, she's been
Hiding out for-
MIA for like a decade or so, or something like that. Like she couldn't. Maybe she wasn't working on her craft as much. Or
She has not been a member of the Legislative Assembly.
just, you know, I think there was, you know, a lot of legitimate reasons to maybe not have her quite as,
Yes.
you know.
He totally made her really obnoxious in personality, like just off-putting.
Yeah, and again, also, first love or not, adopted sister or not, if I haven't seen you in a decade, you can't just, like, feel at home in my house. Like,
Yeah, she's definitely taking a lot of liberties there. I was going to say not necessarily super obnoxious because Harry does still have to, I mean, like, yes, his impulse is to automatically help her, but if she was that terrible, he would have been like, hey, you know what? Fuck you. Like, I think if he couldn't have made her too horrible that way. But yeah, he could have, like you say, not have made her a super awesome wow. He could have just made her a lot plainer.
Well, I said this, I think, in the last episode, that, like, basically everything Elaine does in this book could have essentially been done by, like, Lydia. Or the same sort of thing, you know? Like, a lot of what happens is just, like, okay, fine. Like, he's driven by a sense of, like, my first love, and it's Elaine.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe he even could have just, like, maybe Butcher didn't build it up enough or something like that. Because I like the concept of Elaine. I like the dichotomy and the problems that she presents. Just she herself as a character is not really important. Her backstory is more important than she is, you know?
Yeah, he could have even, like, if he had given her more flaws, it would have actually, I think, sort of put more of a shine on his...
still willingness to help her despite...
Well, unreliable narrator. My first love, she's so amazing, and we see that she's not.
Yeah, that too.
Would have been kind of like, kind of a cool moment.
And it would have been a little bit more of a... problem too if it, like, you know, like for the readers, essentially when you go through the books and you see him making all these decisions, we're with him the whole time, it's like, I know why he had to do that. Like, why is the White Council mad at you? Like, that was the only option you had to kill Bianca and burn down her house and blah 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 and start a war with the Reds, right? But it would be almost a cooler thing where if we didn't like Elaine, if it was a little bit like, and Harry's still like, we gotta help her, she doesn't want to go to the White Council, fine, she wants to, like, put me in this problem with the fairies, fine, then we could have been a little bit more like, Harry, what are you doing? Like, we don't, whereas, like, again, like, the way it's presented, we're all just like, yeah, like, we're Team Elaine now, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, for who? Why? We didn't,
Why?
Even if Elaine hadn't appeared in these books, he essentially had to do everything anyways, right? It just added that extra layer that she's the summer, we'll learn in this chapter that, you know. But again, I just didn't know. Her backstory was a lot more heartbreaking than what she comes back to. I was going to say,
I don't know if Elaine ever bothered me as much as she bothered, you know, again, I never sort of shone a light on it the same way. I just sort of enjoyed the books. But you're right, it was surprising to me because, again, like, he's very vague in the first, and I remember when he first is talking to Murphy, like, the very first time I read this, and I was kind of surprised that we were getting a bit, or no, I think that she showed, maybe not, because we'd sort of gotten more or less those bits and pieces out of him already. But yeah, I was not necessarily expecting to meet Elaine this soon. Like, again, I sort of thought, like, well, he's mentioned a few times about this dad, so it's entirely possible in the fantasy world that she's going to pop up again somehow, some way. But, like, yeah, I wasn't necessarily expecting her to pop up
the next chapter.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's only book 4, right? Like, he's only briefly mentioned her in a couple of books.
Again, if he'd spent a while building her up even more and referencing back to her.
Right, but. And then exactly like you say, like, she's okay, but
it's a little bit like an afterthought in this way.
It almost seems a bit more like, like, contrived or a plot device or something like that, or wherever where, you know, as like you say, as much as you build her up to be a super wow character, but like you say, her story, her arc isn't, like you say, I'm like, okay, she's pretty and she's competent and she's, you know what I mean?
Again, his first love.
But yeah, exactly. I'm, like you say, I'm not like, wow, you're right, Elaine. You're just like, okay, yeah, maybe when you were 16 she was awesome, but she's just a girl now.
Just a girl now.
Yeah, and like you say, like, even where you could see sort of Mab coming up and out after Harry and where that benefits her, but in the, like, sometimes if you really step back and look, you're like, she owes you a debt, but why? Other than maybe further manipulations that we can look at, but like, why would she have picked Elaine to
even as we
play this role against Harry?
Yeah, even as we meet Elaine in future books, sort of like that, as it stands right now with everything that's been published, at the recording of this, where as far as the law, I was like, she doesn't have. So far, she's never had a big role in the series thus far.
No.
Again, like when she pops up and stuff like that for, let's say, you know, like, to give Harry a side quest, essentially, like, and she's never, ever been a big part of the plot or anything like that. It's just been, like, even, like, again, like how Butcher likes to throw in, like, 85 distractions a book for him, you know, even then hers is just, like a very, parallel to what he already has to do anyways.
Well, who knows? Maybe this is one of those very, very
which, again, maybe so long con. Maybe when there's a book comes out, it's going to finally, like, snap into place.
Or when we get to Mirror, Mirror, and it's going to be like, they'll be married with like 6 kids. Cause like,
that would totally change everything. Who knows?
You know? It was
and
like,
all their kids are evil!
Yeah, right.
It's just like, even as far as the backstory.
Yeah, Elaine is nothing in this universe. We'll get to the next universe.
And
it's like everything. All about
which, honestly, would totally redeem my whole Elaine thing. That would be like such the dichotomy that I'd be like, there we go. That totally equals it out. There we go. But as it stands right now, like, even if you want to be like, oh, like, it gives Harry this whole tragic backstory being betrayed, he gets that just from from Justin. You don't even need Elaine for that.
No.
You know, like, that was your adopted
Right,
father,
yeah.
right? Like, that's a big enough relationship as is. Your mentor, your wizard mentor, your adopted father, like, right?
And that going into it, because, you know, like I say, they do, I mean, like, it is kind of a little bit of a cute whatever when they meet, because, yeah, she's wandering around his apartment, and he's like, it can't be, like, your dad.
Yeah.
Right? And she's like, will anybody else know how you're, you know, like, something from the Never Never couldn't just walk through your threshold? And he's like, well, that's shitty and wimpy anyways. And she's like, well, nobody else can set up your wards. And he's like, somebody can figure it out eventually. And she's like, well, does anybody else know you failed your driver's test? And, you know, I'm like...
3 times in the same week, Harry.
5.
5 times in the same
He
week.
must have gone, like, every day.
Seriously. Like, at that point, the driver instructor just like, please stop coming back. Like,
It's like, you cannot come back until next month? Go practice.
I was gonna say, when I was getting my license, you could try
Once a day.
once a day. But now you have to take a 3-month wait. By the time my sister had to go get it, there's a 3-month wait in between each driving test.
Wow.
This is the driving test, not the written test.
This is- yeah,
That makes
so, yeah,
sense.
yeah.
That does make sense.
If you're not
you have to-
prepared-
you
so,
failed,
yeah.
you have to improve.
I failed.
prepared.
I failed the first time I took it. And the very next day, I went and passed. Mackenzie failed the first time. She had to wait 3 months to be able to go and take it again.
Well, it's really easy to fail those driving tests. Really easy.
Well, it depends on your instructor and everything, too. And
Exactly.
you're always so nervous the first time around.
And I got the exact same instructor the next day and messed up something else, but she was like, "Okay, you did this perfectly yesterday,
I
so I'm
know
going to
you
pass
can."
you." And I was like, "Okay, thank you, I appreciate that."
Stay off the roads in Alberta, people. No.
No, it's not just me. No one in Alberta can drive. every season of Canada's Worst Driver, someone from our city is on the top 3 contestants every
Definitely
single
had a
season.
lot, yeah. But anyways,
that just means we're better defensive drivers because we're like, oh shit, oh shit,
that's
another one
true.
coming. Oh god.
That's
Because
true.
we go through 8 layers of ice 7 months of the year.
That as well, right? But what I was gonna say is he has all this build up to how well she knows him and how much they shared together and like they soul gazed on their first night together and all this. And he's like, at first he's like, oh my god, and he's in shock. And then he like gets angry because he's like, wait a minute. And she's like, well, no, I managed to escape while you guys fighting. And he's like, yeah, while you held me down. And well, that's what thralls do, Harry. And what do you mean, right? But it's like he seems to, and he does kind of say himself because she's like, well, I need help. And he's like, okay. And he's like, granted, I said it faster than I might have. And he's like, I would have for anybody, but maybe it was a, you know. But I'm like, they don't go through any more and I get they get into the thick of things and there's stuff that will happen but you know what I mean, but even in this moment for him to agree, and I'm just like, there's not a lot of rehashing, there's not a lot of working it out, there's not a lot of
doesn't really question
closure,
it.
there's not
It's
a lot
just
of
the-
And even the one thing,
you're a thrall. Okay, that's
and
that's
he doesn't
it.
even really want to accept it. He's like, are you trying to tell me the devil made you do it? And she's like, well, I don't know, it's not an excuse, it just had to be said. And then they just go from there.
even though
I'm
even
like,
the one thing he presses, like, where were you this whole time? She doesn't answer, and he's still like, okay, whatever. I
yeah,
tried.
right? 10, 12 years of baggage. And again, not just that she disappeared. Not, I like, most of us have had some, you know, nowadays you ghost people. You've all had somebody you broke up with or friend you used to have that you lost touch and never connected with. I'm like, where did they go? Why did you suddenly, you know, why did you not talk to me for all of 7th grade? By 8th grade, we were fine, you know? But it's like, you thought you killed her. It's not even just maybe, in like, you thought, like, not that you directly attempted to kill her, but as a direct result of your actions. You know, like, he always figured she'd perished in this fire he set in this fight with Justin. So I'm like, that's a lot. And then you're just like, okay, hi.
Well, I mean,
Oh
if you put it in
my
that context, it doesn't really make sense that she wouldn't, even if she was a thrall, if she was, like, she ran away and was in this horrible traumatic experience with him, I would think if I were in her position, I would have been like, I gotta go find Harry.
What the hell happened to Harry?
Like, this
Yeah.
is, yeah. But no, like, it's not even a question. It's not questioned that she didn't do it.
Yeah, and maybe she found out because his life was a little more... I mean, she's obviously been avoiding the council, so she's obviously become aware of them. Like you say, Justin hadn't told either of them because he wanted them for his little personal army, and it served no purpose for him to have them know about this governing body. But yeah, right, even if she was, like, supremely, because, you know, she kind of, like you say, she doesn't really remember when she, like, where and how she got away, but Justin's spells obviously broke down, and like you say, however she came to herself, did she did she do at least that much? Did she know Harry, or did she, you know, she'd run away to Faerie, and they were like, oh no, don't worry, Harry's fine, he's been taken in, and you know what I mean? But yeah, she doesn't really give any good adequate, like, I looked for you too, Harry. Like, I checked in and I made sure you were okay. And so I was just like, I think it's better if I just stay out of, you know what I mean? But it was like, yeah, she doesn't even really give any sort of...
Even if she'd been a little bit more like, oh, like the last time I saw you, you were trying to kill Justin and Justin was trying to kill you and you guys were like doing all this big magic, so I was afraid of you. Even if she had said something like that, I could have had a little bit more like compassion. Because like, yeah, 16-year-old or not, it was probably a pretty scary, like, I'm going to avoid these men, right? But even then, she's like, oh no, like, like I totally understood where you were coming from, but go fuck yourself. Like,
yeah, right?
Like, I mean, does Butcher do this on purpose to leave that ambiguity for the character?
It may be, right? So that we're not
like
totally
that we don't
in
trust
love
this?
with yeah, exactly. Right.
Again, maybe in future books it'll all finally pan out.
We have questions.
And again, like, this is, I think, just sitting here right now, as far as I can think, Elaine is literally the only character in the entire series that I kind of think that she just kind of like fell flat on who she is and what she's about, and like,
take or leave at any given moment.
Anyone else, for the good guys, bad guys, supernatural or not, everyone's got a pretty good, clear role. And again, like, even all the other women are so strong, and like, like even Charity is so strong, as we meet eventually, like, the Carpenter kids and stuff like that, and they can be so strong and cool, or we meet other, like, bad guys that are female or whatever like that, or female presenting in some cases. Even them, like Deidre and, I don't remember her mother, Tara? No.
Trish,
something like that.
Tasha.
Point is, all of them, like, they're all strong, they're all badass, they've all got their, like, femme fatale, blah, blah, blah thing going on. But for whatever reason, Elaine's just seems like, but why? Why does she have it?
I mean, that could be just as simple as, like, her story got lost in editing. Boom,
also,
cut.
possible. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, hard to say with her.
Yeah.
I do agree, though, from what I can remember of it. I don't remember her as being anything impactful.
Yeah, because, like, again, not jumping into huge spoilers. Tessa.
Polonia Lartessa or something like that.
Sure. But even as we get into, like, the Paranet, like, even, like, her contribution to that is, again, like, could have been done by, and was done, really, by everyone else as well. It wasn't just her. Mm-hmm. It was a group effort, so just missing her wouldn't have made the biggest deal in the world either. Anyways, though, okay, Elaine's back. As we mentioned, she tells Harry that Justin made me a thrall a couple of weeks before everything went down, and I've been working at his bidding, and then that night he decided, like, this is when it's all gonna go down, and then obviously everything that happened, and blah, 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 and then they get into the whole, well, this is why I'm here, for now.
I'm in trouble.
Yes. I'll help. Fuck off, Harry. And, like, yeah, and like you said, Mom, like, she instantly relaxes, and she's just like, oh, thank you so much. Fuck you, Elaine. How about you help yourself
She's
for
like,
once?
well, that was easier than I thought it would be. Okay.
No, like, literally, like, are you sure? I had a whole speech to convince you. Nope, it's good. Okay.
Yeah.
You are the Harry I remember.
Yeah, right.
16 and hormone ridden. Yeah, you're pretty much the same.
And I do kind of like this is where when she finally gets to she's like, the short story, or sorry, the short version is, like, there's been a murder within the realms. And Titania wants you to be her emissary. She wants you to find the killer and prove that the Winter Court is to blame. She told you that you'd be contacted tonight by Mab's emissary, but she didn't tell you who it was going to be. Huh? Right? Something like that by any chance? Wow. Oh my God, Harry, how did you know? Fucking fairies.
Yeah, they're not without a sense of irony. Really.
Exact. But I'm like, this is real. Like, I get they're all about manipulation and contriving and the long con, but I'm like, this is, unless, Mab and Titania were in cahoots, which they really shouldn't be because they're on the very opposite sides of this thing. I'm like, how the hell would you manage to, like, could you count that when I'm like, you might have, Mab could have,
when Elaine ran away to the Fae, this was all
she
laid
might
in
have
stone.
foreseen that in this circumstance, Titania would appoint Elaine. But how do you, because they're like, you'll meet them tonight. How did you know that Elaine was immediately going to go running to Harry for help after all of this time in this particular situation when she has no idea that Harry has involvement? Like, it's not even clear. I don't think anything's ever mentioned. Like, I don't know if she ever knew about his godmother and Leah and stuff like that, right? So I'm like, she might have had a vague idea that Harry had some connection to the fairies, but unless she knew that, she's got no reason to think. So I'm like,
from Elaine's point of view, she's the expert in fairies. Why do you need Harry?
Exactly. Why would you think that just when you suddenly dump this in her lap, that the first person she's going to go running to after all these years would be Harry?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a whole lot of coincidence that feels like they're like, I don't know how you guys could have planned on any sort of manipulation, coincidence, foresight to figure this is how, so like, I don't know if there was a backup plan.
Titania on the phone with Mab, like, this dumb bitch is gonna run to him the second she has a chance.
Well,
believe me.
Guess what I did?
I was gonna say it's like they're not I was gonna say they're not like, well, I guess they're kind of arch enemies but
they're also like sisters and like exactly.
I was gonna say it was like they're total like polar opposites, right? Like they control completely different, and they're at polar opposites. But exactly, I was like, it is established. They are still sisters, right? So she's like, still gonna call her up and be like, oh my god, like, so anyway, so I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, you guys killed my guy, but I'm gonna have to find somebody to go find him. And Map's like, oh, no, she puts Elaine on this. I gotta go. Hang on, I got an appointment. I'll talk to you later.
Maybe it's like some kind of professional courtesy that they're like, we got to keep our game up on fooling these humans.
Yeah,
like,
sort of.
This is what I got planned. What do you got planned?
It's like courtroom.
That's full Fae.
Courtroom disclosure. It's like, well, we can't tell you what our strategy and our plan is, but we have to disclose whatever evidence we have so that you can, prepare accordingly. And so that's what it is. They're like, we still have to like show most of our cards. We just can't.
So again, had Elaine been introduced before this, whether in person or just by being spoken about more and built up more, this could have been a real big, like, shoe dropping, like, oh shit, the other side has blah blah blah, like Harry's over the barrel on this side, right? But again, when you get it like it is, it's just like, okay, well, Harry's on Team Winter, so go fuck the Summer Court, I guess. Like,
yeah.
Sorry to be you, Elaine. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, he's gotta, look out for himself here.
Yeah.
And then, like he says, he's like, I don't really know what Elaine's deal was, but I imagined it wasn't any less fatal, right? So, and again, like, whatever, we don't know. But it kind of makes me like, well, she sought, sanctuary there, asylum, whatever. So they were kind of like cool with, and I mean, I get there's the whole like mortal and fairy thing, but I was like, apparently they've been cool with her chilling there for like, they say 10 to 12 years or whatever the time span is here. But she still like racked up a big debt, and I'm like, and this is like, I sort of get with Harry, because he doesn't fucking want to do this. Mm-hmm. And Nab's like, well, you're gonna say yes anyways because you don't know all the right. But like Harry, literally the second she's like, I'm not taking I don't care what the problem is, I don't want to know, don't tell me, la 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 la, right? And he's very much manipulated and coerced between the council and the court to have to do this, whereas Elaine doesn't seem like she's been with Fairy. They're like, hey, we need someone to check this out, I'm gonna make you go do it. Oh, okay, fine. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, how is this
I don't know that I agree with that, though, because we don't know what the conversation went down with her. I think, in my head, it could very much easily have been just like the Summer Court being like, listen, you've been here a decade, and it's time to pay the rent, bitch. This is like the one and only job we want you to go do. Like, I don't think it was like, oh my god, like,
I guess maybe
we love having you around. Like, would you like to like maybe be an emissary, or maybe you want to like go to it was like, hey, we've done everything for you for a decade. Time to fucking pay the piper. Like,
well, I get, and we will see more things as the book plays out. But I mean, like a little bit in this introduction to me, I'm like, it's not as, it doesn't seem like as heavy as I mean, he says like she probably has some fatal deal too. Like, okay, yeah, we don't know the details. But if she was willing to seek sanctuary there and stay, because again, if she like 5 minutes into it was like, this is a bad idea, she probably could have tried to find some way to extract herself earlier than she did, right? So she accepted this for the last several years.
Right, she does seem pretty fairy friendly.
Very, very, very friendly, right? Yeah, exactly. Like
which is harder to say than you think.
It is, very.
She's fairly fairy friendly.
She's fairly fairy friendly. Oh, I guess. But he says something about the fairies, and he's like, Elaine kind of looked around, like, right? Like, she's indoctrinated enough that she knows they don't call them fairies, Harry, like, right? So it seems to me that she would be, like, she's in the Summer Court. She would know the Summer Night. She would want to find out what happened here, too. Like, yeah, they killed our dude. Like, what the heck? She'd be like, yeah, let's go. I'm sure Mab did this all right. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
she more rallied around the fact that, like, she wants to solve the murder because someone killed her friend.
And that would
be a little bit more driving force as well.
Seems like that to me, that I was just like, I don't know.
But, another complaint is, like you're saying, like, unreliable narrator is, like, even if, again, like, the way it's written leads me to believe that, like, Harry being like, oh, they probably have her more or less over the same barrel as me. it'd be like a little bit more if we learned that even, Harry was putting that all onto her, and she was like, we later reveal later on, she was like, no, I just felt like helping, Whereas like Harry's like, oh my god, like this must be life and death for her. I've got to do everything in my power to help her and help me and help the White Council, right? And at the end, you find out Elaine was just like, oh, I was just doing this because I had time, like,
I was just bored, man.
He's like, and he's like, what? Like even that could have been a different sort of level of conflict,
it could be, because she does kind of say she's in trouble, but all she says is that like I owe them and they picked me for this. It's right, like he's the one that does assume more.
Yeah, she doesn't really think she's got skin in the game, but what?
Yeah,
like.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, like if
there's no motivation, not enough motivation.
We're supposed to be led to believe, I think, that she is in the same life or death as Harry, but it would have been something to learn later on that actually she wasn't.
Yeah,
that was just Harry projecting or assuming or whatever.
Right, exactly.
Which would make her seem a little bit more manipulative.
Even more manipulative.
Actually,
I'm just looking to put a flaw on her anywhere because, like,
she does, in her words, when she tells him, because he says all this, he's like, oh, let me guess. And she just stares at him for a moment, and then she's like, Harry, if I don't succeed, if I don't fulfill my debt to her, it's going to be very bad for me. And that's when he says, yeah, oh boy, Mabs, tell me about it, Mabs, basically. So I guess she does admit that there is a lot more danger to her in this, that I guess, maybe they're like, you better prove she did it or else, and I guess...
like eternal winter or eternal Ebola, like, both sides are scary.
Yeah,
like,
well, exactly.
Fairy is fairy.
I guess that's one way to, it's like, I don't mind taking on this project and helping you out, but if you fail, we'll kill you. That, okay, well, you know what, can I just, like, not offer to help you paint your fence anymore? Because I don't know how this is going to turn out. Never actually painted before, I was just trying to be nice, but...
Yeah. So Harry, his idea of what a good solution is to go to the White Council with Elaine.
I like how you said that. Like, his solution of a good idea is to go to the White Council. Like, this idiot. We've known them for 3 chapters, and this idiot wants to go talk to the White Council.
Well, especially since we know it's Harry. He hasn't exactly talked them up over the last 3 books previous. And
our last experience with the White Council is, we're going to cut your head off because we think that you're a murderer.
Yeah, okay. Right. With this whole thing, I know exactly. Like, he's basically sort of more or less bad-mouthed them for the last few. Like, yeah, they're useful, but they're also a bunch of dicks. And then we actually meet them, and they're
a bunch of
giant bunch of dicks.
They are a bunch of dicks.
And then he's like, okay, I got it. And I kind of have to go with Elaine on this one. Like, seriously?
Yeah.
Like, the guys that tried, she's like, well, you might be biased. She's like, could be. Last I heard, these guys tried to kill you. Okay, well, yeah.
Oh, now you care, Elaine.
Now you.
Last time I heard of you, Elaine, you tried to kill me, too.
Yeah, right, exactly. No, you're coming to help.
I do like Harry, how he is still, like, Team White Council, though. As much as he fucking hates them, he still thinks that they're a legitimately important function of society.
Well, and as
despite his own problems with them, he's like, they're still here for wizards. Maybe I've got my own issues with them, but overall, they're for wizards.
Yeah, exactly, right. Like, that's what he says, right? Because he's like, oh, come on, like, you're gonna have to come up to them anyways. And she's like, whatever. And he's like, well, you're a human and you're a wizard. That's all they care about. Like, they're still gonna stand up to back the mortal, like human beings or whatever, right? So yeah, he's like, and again, right, he's like, I have some friends on, like, most of them, sure, there's a bunch of dicks, but not everybody is,
A lot of them are honestly indifferent.
A lot. It's
just, the most bunch of dicks are the highest bunch of dicks.
And it's a little bit of, like, him seeing, I think, is what's the lesser of the two evils if they find out that she's involved, the White Council finds out that she's alive and a wizard and helping the Summer Council, or the Summer Court. Or we just don't surprise them and hey,
explain it all to
this
them.
Is what's going on. We don't know what to do.
Well, and that is it, and that's a lot, I think, where Harry's coming from, like, it's kind of, she's like, we need to figure something out, and he's like, I'm thinking, and she's like, well, what have you got? And it was just a cute line where he's like, I think if it grows any more horns, I'm gonna have to shoot it and put it on my wall or whatever, right? And she's like, and this is a little bit to me of a cute callback to how much they do know about each other, and whatever, because she's like, I know this is never going to sink in, but it's not the time for jokes. So it's like, you knew Harry's been a smartass, like, his whole life, right? Like, even as that 10, 12, 16-year-old boy, he was always trying to, crack a joke and be funny, and...
I'm going to use humor to deal with my pain, okay?
Yeah, right? There's been a lot. I'm going to... but anyways, yeah, so he's all like, yeah, exactly, right? He's like, okay, better for us to just, rather than spring this on them, like, they already don't like anything I do and any more surprises...
It's not so much said now, but we'll learn throughout the books, and it can be somewhat, if you're really paying attention, implied or taken away from the fact. We know Justin never disclosed Harry or Elaine to the White Council. No one even knew he had these mentors until he was murdered, and then... So the White Council doesn't even know Elaine exists at all. Not just that she's dead, but they just didn't know she existed at all. Harry didn't bother to tell anyone that there had been another one, because she thought he was dead too.
Yeah.
And he just was like, well, fuck these guys, I'm keeping as many secrets as I possibly can. And we know that he stole Bob out of the wreckage as well and managed to hide that away too during the trial. So it's like, Harry clearly, like, whatever secrets he did have from that, he was like, fuck you guys, I am going to keep this from you, because I already don't like you right off the bat.
And legitimately with Elaine, it was just kind of I don't see a point because... she's dead and gone, right?
But that's another thing, like, that I find is more and more important as the series goes on, is keeping her entire existence a secret.
Yeah.
Is a big deal or whatever like that, right? And that's one good, like, again, like, not that Elaine has a huge thing, but I do like at least that part of the whole one more thing, one more wedge between the White Council and Harry.
Yeah.
Not that they know about it, but, like, even Ebenezer doesn't know about Elaine, you know?
More interesting story with more drama and conflict.
Yeah.
Which, again, if the White Council ever does find out about Elaine and it creates another problem, then, okay, Elaine, congrats. You have an interesting point about you again.
Does he? Just so you mentioned Ebenezer, and I'm kind of wondering, I'm like, maybe he does. I almost felt like there was some point somewhere, but maybe
I'm misremembering, but I don't think anyone knows Elaine exists.
Maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking of something or somebody else that references her or something. Yeah, that's true. Michael, that's true.
Michael knows about Elaine. Yeah,
maybe that's what I'm thinking of when Michael is like, this isn't
from
the same Grave Peril, and why don't you just marry Susan? It's like, this isn't Elaine. We don't talk about Elaine.
Right. Yeah.
We don't talk about Elaine.
Which was awful. I had that come, I don't remember what, but my boss at work was telling me something, and she was like, oh, I can't remember if he used to be like an employee or a friend or a customer or something. But she was like, oh yeah, she's like Bruno. And I was like, we don't talk about Bruno. And she was just like, okay.
Aww, what a missed opportunity.
Yeah. And then, I don't know, for all of you out there that have been watching.
It was my wedding day.
We
were getting ready. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. Where have you been, Linda?
How could you not have heard it at this point? Yeah, so he's like, all right, let's go. We'll go to the count. You got to go talk to them anyways. The fuck I do.
Well, she does eventually relent and agrees.
Well, she kind of, but yeah, her initial is like,
she's like
you
sound like stupid. I don't know why we would do this, but okay.
Yeah, she's like, oh, you mean the guys that like just decided to, condemn you without any trial and like execute you just for the hell of it? And yeah, let's go, sign me up, right? And he's like, well, yeah. But yeah, he does a lot of quick talking. Be like, hey, I've actually got friends. Like, people will listen. Like, yeah, there's a bunch of giant dicks, but, and she's like, maybe, like, she's just starting to consider. Again, that's another one. She's like, God, Harry, you just can't see it. She's like, the council doesn't care about you. She's like, they don't want to protect you. They'll only put up with you as long as you toe the line and don't become an inconvenience. I'm already an inconvenience. Fine, a liability.
Oh yeah, that too.
She's like, she's trying, and he's like, yeah, no, really, they have all. I'm like, you're not helping your case, Harry.
And then there came a rapping.
Oh, but knocking at my chamber door.
Dresden, open up, traitor. There's questions I need you to answer.
Traitor! Like, just whatever. Like, he's just all, I don't care whatever's going on now.
Morgan got his theater degree.
God, can you imagine a pimply-faced little Morgan in, like, drama theater? And, like, just never getting the girl.
And
never getting the respect of the... And now he's just, like, a dude with a badge.
How old is Morgan? He could have been, like one of the original Shakespeare.
He's, like, 150-ish, I think.
No, not old enough to be a Shakespearean. An OG Shakespearean actor.
He tried vaudeville, and they sent him away.
As they always do.
Right, he just took so much punishment as, like, the theater geek and the nerd, and that now he's just, like, abusing his power behind the badge.
Phantom of the Opera recreations.
He's going up to, like, every jock that ever bothered him and being like, oh, yeah, want to cut your head off? Huh? Because I can do that now.
It's always those nerds who grow up that have the worst attitudes.
Right, well, is a stand-in for the Highlander?
Right?
He had the hair for it.
Just one more abuse of power behind the badge there. He's just like,
Yeah, it's not like he's biased or anything.
No.
I do like Morgan, though. We don't get a lot from him in these early books, but eventually we do get the Morgan arc. A lot of interesting shit going on.
Yeah.
For now, just another asshole.
Well, and he's good at what, right? That is his role right now.
Yeah, he
is
plays
just
his role well.
Let us know, like, this is the dick half of the council, and this is where they're stubborn, narrow-minded, biases.
This is the enforcer of the dick side of the council.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I'm just gonna dog your heels, and I'm like, I'm just out to catch you, and that's, at every step.
This concludes our episode 9.7, Loved, Lost, and Returned. Thank you for listening. You can find us online at freeflowrambling.com and McAnallys.ca. There we have links to our other podcasts, social media, and other fun tidbits. Please subscribe if you like what you're hearing, and please consider supporting us through Patreon to keep the magic alive and see more content.
We are Free Flow Rambling.
Conjure by it at your own risk.